What's up, everybody? I'm Dreaming Tabitha, an artist here on YouTube, and today we're letting AI make our art prompt. My friend Moz makes tabletop dungeon maps. What if we got together where you have to make the map and I have to make the character that goes on this adventure?
Got a hold of me and I was like, oh, that sounds awesome.
But the twist is, we let AI decide what our prompt is. What could go wrong? So we used Elon Musk's Grok, which I think is just kind of a stupid name.
I don't think anybody regards Elon Musk as the premier namer of websites.
We're only giving ourselves 7 days to accomplish this goal. Moss makes the maps, and I have to create the character, the hero, or
you could also do the villain.
Here is the dungeon art prompt for your project. The theme, ancient ruined temple. The setting, deep within a jungle, the temple is half buried by vegetation and roots, suggesting centuries of abandonment. The architecture is a mixture of Mayan and Gothic styles, with high vaulted ceilings, intricate carvings on the walls depicting forgotten gods and rituals, and crumbling stone statues at every corner. The lighting is dim, with light filtering through broken sections of the roof where vines and trees have grown. Torches or magical luminescent stones provide sparse, eerie lighting. At the entrance, a massive stone door, partially open, overgrown with moss, leading into darkness. Hieroglyphs or runes around the entrance hitting. A central chamber with a collapsed ceiling revealing the sky, filled with shattered idols and a stone altar. Side rooms could be treasure vaults or crypts with sarcophagi. In the corner are skeletal remains of ancient guardians or priests, possibly animated by dark magic. Unique creatures like temple guardians, beasts, part stone, part flesh, are hidden behind the walls. The atmosphere gives an overwhelming sense of decay mixed with the sacred. The air is thick with the scent of earth, old incense, and perhaps the faint hint of danger. So yeah, this is the concept art that I had for my character, and I think she turned out amazing. I decided to scratch the facial markings that I had on there. I thought it was a little bit too much in the end result, which you'll see later on. But after I got all that taken care of and fleshed out all the issues, I went in and started coloring everything. And I did a lot of research into what a Mayan character might look like. Fortunately, I have a lot of wiggle room because it's fantasy, but nevertheless, I did want to try to stay true to some of that culture. The internet wasn't very helpful, so I kind of had to base things off of movies that based off of real life, hoping that it's true to realism. But I was really proud of the skull, even though I had to redo it a couple of times, and I loved the way that the lantern turned out. And I even was pretty happy with her clothing because that's not necessarily one of my strong suits. But after I got all the inking taken care of, I decided to go in and color, and this is my base color foundation.
By the way, it was so much fun hanging out with you guys on the live stream as I created this character. It did get taken down and released to members only, and if you would like to become a member of the channel so you get exclusive behind the scenes, in the works, in the progress, art forms and whatever, and opportunities to give your input into my art creations, consider becoming a member and also get coloring pages as well. And thanks so much for your help and your support. It's always, always appreciated.
All right, now it's time to get to the part that I love most, and that would be shading and highlighting. Although I did decide to keep this in the style of cell shading, so that means no real blending, which is something I actually prefer to do, but I am loving learning how to do cell shading. The one challenge that this image gave to me is that I knew I wanted it to be backlit, much like the reference picture above. And so that meant there would be a lot of darkness, and at the same time there would be lights because I knew I wanted to incorporate the glowing elements of these mysterious runes that I would be creating on the character's skin. So that was its own challenge. How do you keep something really interesting looking while it's heavily shadowed? I think I did a pretty good job. Now let me tell you the story that I developed for this character in particular. I imagined two tribes always at war with one another. Lots of fighting, lots of blood, lots of death. What one tribe didn't know is that the other was in the business of using dark magic to help them defeat their foes. However, one day, that tribe disappeared and was never seen again. It was told to the other tribes that it was forbidden to travel in those lands because of the dark magic. Something evil lived there, and no one wanted to risk traveling that part of the land. Decades later, a young girl whose curiosity got the better of her found herself wandering in the jungle and hearing the dark whispers of the forest. It lulled her into a sense of intrigue, and she followed the voices until she came to the forbidden lands where the hidden temples were located. She followed the trail of voices down the stairs and into the depths of the temple, where she discovered the darkness. And I kind of imagine that she found the skull that she carries in her hand, which was the chief or the shaman of that temple. And he needed a person with which to possess in order to allow for his powers to come out into the land so that he could regain control over the population. Fortunately, these powers were too great for this child, and they started bleeding out of her eyes and out of her skin into these ancient runes that were the markings of the temple, granting her significant power that came at an ultimate price.
We were only had 7 days to complete our task. I kind of lost track of time. I may or may not have finished it on either the 6th or the 7th day.
Given that we had what I like to say 7 business days, I think for what I have come up with, got some really cool elements in it that I'm pretty excited about.
The theme was the ancient ruined temple that was set deep within the jungle, half buried by vegetation. There was supposed to be dim lighting. There were supposed to be traps. We let AI kind of give us a prompt to see what could we as humans do against such powerful forces as, well, other humans that gave the computer the brain. We're going to go ahead and showcase Moss's map.
This is room number 1.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is not the whole thing.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm okay with a square. It's fine. This took you 7 days? All right. Well.
Yeah, no. This is what I got done on the first day. I wanted to start with a central chamber that was the focus of whatever this entire temple was. And that's what this room is. So the way that I'm looking at it here, and now keep in mind, I've got my own headcanon for what's going on here.
So do I. So this would be interesting to see if they mesh.
You've got kind of a broken sacrificial altar down there towards the southern edge of the map, and you've got 2 big braziers up there up to either side. Kind of running down those 2 rows in the center are like torches type things.
Okay.
Now, in my head, I picture there's probably like a river or some sort of a stream or water source or something going on overhead, and perhaps the walls broke in and there's water getting inside of the temple from the outside. So that's what this little spring here off to the side is. This is kind of the bones of the whole thing.
Wow.
Now, what I've done after I got all of this done is I went in and added details.
Dun! Look at all the glowy lights. I love.
If we look at this very first area, this hallway that kind of moves down towards the south, and you can see that I've got like a little cave in there that kind of blocks the passageway. What's a dungeon crawl without an actual natural cave? I just envisioned just for funsies, I'd put a spike trap down at the bottom of that hole just because.
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
This purple area is actually probably my favorite part of this entire map. I'm not going to lie to you. But this one area, I wanted to have just this really otherworldly section to this cave. Building this on stream, they said, what about some sort of like hallucinogenic mushrooms or something like that? My second favorite part about this, and it has nothing to do with anything, but I drew a line of footprints that just leads into a wall.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see that?
I do. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Log spinny things.
Yeah.
That spin around.
American Ninja Warrior.
Exactly. That's exactly what this is all about. I had to look through everything that was available to me. And so basically, instead of making like a combination of Mayan architecture and Gothic architecture, I basically thought, okay, well, I've got Mayan architecture here and I've got Gothic architecture here. What if there was some sort of pre-existing civilization, some Mayan civilization that built this tunnel or built this temple. And then another civilization came in and built onto it after it was already abandoned.
Oh my gosh! I can't wait to tell you.
Building off of that, you can see it makes its way north into this little trident type area. I wanted to give a little bit of creative liberty to whoever's running the game to kind of figure out, you know, what exactly is going on here. I just place things in here to have whoever's running the game answer questions about. Probably my favorite thing in this little area here, there are 4 chairs in this room, and there's just a little doll head.
That's creepy.
Nobody knows. Why are those 4 chairs all surrounding and looking at this doll head? Nobody knows. But to get over to a little bit more of our Gothic architecture, I figured this area had a little bit more rhyme and reason to it. Just up to the north of that, like living quarters.
Yeah, I see this.
But in my mind, there may have been some sort of a monster or something that rampaged through there, chasing the inhabitants around. In the little dining room just off to the furthest north, if you scroll in real far, you can see the chandeliers falling all over the table. There's broken chairs, and there's a human form which is bound up in spider webs.
Wow. That is, I love the attention to detail, and I will say the whole Gothic thing, I may have slipped and missed that mark when it came to. Are you ready to see the character that I created that's supposed to be a part of this dungeon?
I am. Oh my god! Wait, you did this by hand?
I'm so happy with how it came out because I learned a lot about like backgrounds and things like that. Look, I've even got the sunlight coming in, just like
It looks like she's already in here.
symbols of her on her body. I actually included my signatures.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the fact that you were able to take all of those little glowing runes and put them on the pillars in the background and make them match onto the. Are they tattoos or?
No, basically
it's
it's like the spirit that's coming out of her in the form of the symbols.
I love that. I get a lot of Gothic from the lantern, or I get both from the lantern itself. Is there a particular reason that you made that choice?
You know, there's this thing about fantasy where in order for it to still be believable, it needs to be something that we can be familiar with. However, you take a certain element away and suddenly that's what makes it fantasy. So if you have a lantern that only has one side, suddenly it's not really part of this world.
That's a really interesting thought process. Probably my favorite part about this is, as you described, the magic that just kind of bleeds into her eyes or bleeds out. Just that the blue is taking over the brown. I absolutely love that. And the reflections that you were able to capture in that is fantastic.
I don't know. I mean, we're going to leave it up to the viewers to decide. Do you think that my character could be the one that's wandering around inside of Moss's dungeon? Or does it just seem too ridiculous that a little girl could have the power of an entire nation dwelling?
I had a lot of fun. Like I said, this was the first time I did it, so it was definitely a challenge.
If I might, really quick, what was the most difficult part of this task?
Getting the bones put down. Yeah.
Bones?
Yeah, getting the...
Doesn't that just come as a stamp and you just go...
No, when I say getting the bones put down, that's, I guess it's maybe a Midwest figure of speech. Getting the layout figured out, how I wanted it to be structured.
I got you, the blueprints for everything. I was just like, it's just a stamp. That's not that hard. I've used Incarnate before. Okay, all right. Well, that I can. Yeah.